It is indeed with a very warm heart that we welcome you to today's episode of Tax Matters. My name is EOI Matuloko, and with me on today's episode is Christina Pius.
Hello, viewers.
You can see that we are excited, very, very excited. And why? The Federal Inland Revenue Service is at it again. The much talked about ITAS, Integrated Tax Administration System, has gone live again. You recall that on the 19th of December 2013, the ITAS platform went live at the Land Tax Office, Abuja. The train has now moved to Lagos, to the Land Tax Office, Oil and Gas. Now, taxpayers who file their returns to the LTO Oil and Gas Lagos, as has been done in Abuja from December, can do so electronically, seamlessly, and painlessly. Also, on today's episode of the program, we'll be looking at the new buzz in international taxation, Exchange of Information, EOI. Plus, the CITN takes a critical look at the 2014 budget of the federal government of Nigeria. Christina has the first story.
Date was Friday, 28 February 2014. Location was the FIRS office on Awolowo Road, Ikoyi, Lagos. And the event, ITAS Go Live program, the second ever. To set the ball rolling, the acting executive chairman FIRS, Alhaji Kabiru Mashi, represented by the coordinating director, Field Operations Group, Mr. Ajayi Bamidele, delivered the keynote address.
We cannot underestimate the importance of ICT to doing business worldwide. It's not only in Nigeria, but what has been done in other parts of the world is what we are now replicating in Nigeria. In FRS, we have categories of taxes. And our offices are now set up to recognize not individual taxpayer, but categories of taxpayer. Yes, large taxpayer Abuja, because of the contribution and nearness to the seat of power, the first go live took place there. And the second one, when we are looking at what is the contribution to the basket, the sector that contributes the highest is now taking the next phase. And very soon, it will go live at every sector of the economy and all the offices of FRS.
The high point of the day's event was the demonstration of electronic filing in ITAS.
We assume that before now, the taxpayer has been registered with FIRS, and taxpayer has we've generated a TIN, a tax identification number for this particular taxpayer, and we've communicated the TIN with the taxpayer. This is how the new TIN certificate will look like.
As a tax officer, I'll assume he has applied for e-filing. She already has a TIN and an ID card, office ID card, to register her, because she needs her username and password to get access to this platform. And the most important information here is the taxpayer's TIN. Then from the application, I need to confirm the rights. The management will have to tell us, the management of the company will have to tell us the rights that they want us to give the representative. We have to view only and the ability to file declaration on behalf of the company. So I have a username, then she needs to put her password. Then the taxpayer can also change the password in his or her office later.
So, having successfully registered a taxpayer, the taxpayer, as here represented by the lady, proceeds to log in.
Okay, so I have my username and password now as a tax representative of Greenwall, and I'm going to log in with that. Okay, so this is what it will look like for the taxpayers when you log in for e-filing in the e-filing platform. Now, I'm going to go ahead and file a declaration for a PPT monthly installment on behalf of Greenwall. We can see the name of the company up here. But first thing you must do once you log in is that you go in. If you must, you can change your password there if you have to. And then we come in here and we change our taxpayer information if it has not been done. We can do that here by coming to edit and click either paper only or electronic.
At the end of it all,
I scroll down to the bottom of the screen and I click. I have different buttons here: cancel, clear, save, continue to step 2. Let's assume I'm doing as I'm filing my declaration, I found out that one of my figures, I need to go back, check something on it. I'll click on save. It will save it and I can log out. When I'm ready, I can come back in, back to that same declaration and continue with what I was doing. But since everything is okay here, I click on continue to step 2. Now it's showing me here, confirm declaration details. So all the details I've entered in, everything is here. If I need to change anything in any of the figures there, I can go click on the back button and I can go back, amend, and continue back again. And if I'm okay with it, I click on submit. It's asking me, are you sure you want to submit your declaration? It's prompting you to make sure that you are not, in case you click the button in error, for you to know that you are about to submit. Click on yes. And here I have my declaration number. It says your declaration submission number is 2090481. As a taxpayer, you need to have this number because with this number, it shows that FIRS has received your declaration from you. So this is the number you would quote. You need this number. If you are telling FIRS, oh, I've filed, my submission number is this. This is the number that will show that. And we can click here to view the declaration that has been filed. And then you go ahead and you can use your document number to pay at the bank.
Thereafter, those in attendance took turns to make observations.
I saw that you first of all created a profile for the taxpayer before the taxpayer could log in. Now, the question is this. Why do I need to come to the service to do that? Why don't I just sit down in my office? I come into your system. I register myself on your system. It gives me my whatever profile, and then I assign whoever officer I give.
Why it is necessary for the taxpayer to come to FIRS office to do the registration. Now, authorization is very, very crucial. It is very important. Anybody on the internet can just go online and claim to be a staff of Shell PLC or of AJIP. How do you know that that person was authorized by Shell to represent them? Maybe in the future, there may be a way of knowing that that person was really authorized by Shell. So that first step, for now, is very important. Maybe when we finish our NIMSI, National Identity Management System, we may be able to do that with biometrics, so we can be able to trace people. So that is the reason why that's identification and non-repudiation. So that if somebody says, this is my authorized representative, he should not be able to deny that I did not send this person to be my user.
It is hoped that with this giant step, that Nigeria's tax administration has indeed taken another great leap into the league of modern tax administrations.
How long it will take for you to clear my container?
I dey do am, Oga. Next time we go bring our team.
Our team? Which team?
Custom don't change, Oga. I never FIRS able.
And what you concern FIRS with my business? I will talk to Gaba myself. You are fired. Oga Gaba, which one be this our team again?
The taxpayer identification number now the only way where you fit take do business with Nigerian Customs Service now. You fit process your own free tin, sharp for any FIRS office.
Soji,
you just sack me, no.
Get our tin now.
This message now from Federal Inland Revenue Service and Nigeria Customs Service.
Welcome back. The world is now a global village. That is no longer in doubt. At the click of a button, information can be called up from anywhere in the world. But then, some pieces of information are considered classified, and so to have access to them, one has to make a formal request, a special request. Again, the phenomenon of global business has ensured that businesses are now done seamlessly across borders. Talk about business without borders. And these have implications for taxation. To surmount the challenges of tax avoidance and tax evasion occasioned by cross-border businesses, stakeholders have come up with what they call exchange of information. From Monday the 24th to Wednesday the 26th of February 2014, the Joint Tax Board, in conjunction with the Federal Inland Revenue Service, hosted a training workshop for revenue officers, bankers, and other stakeholders on exchange of information within borders and across borders. Alhaji Kabiru Mashi, Acting Executive Director of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, is also the Chairman of the Joint Tax Board.
The objective of this seminar is to acquaint participants with international standards of banking secrecy, transparency, and exchange of information between tax authorities with a view to improving existing processes. This is necessary due to increasing cross-border trade and the increased operation of multinationals, especially in developing countries like Nigeria. It is our responsibility as tax authorities, regulatory bodies, and service providers to ensure that we have in place structures and processes that can enable us appropriately tax the activities of these companies. But this cannot be done without close collaboration and linkages between tax and regulatory bodies and a good understanding of how the companies operate.
2 resource persons took trainees through the rudiments of exchange of information protocols. Mr. Kingsley Okengu is the Director of Tax Policy at the Federal Inland Revenue Service.
The Federal Inland Revenue Service is piloting the issue of exchange of information and even the double taxation agreement that we have with other countries. And now you must have been informed in the course of this lesson, of this event, that Nigeria is a signatory to the Multilateral Convention on Exchange of Information and Transparency in Tax Matters. What that means is that as we are signatories, other signatories to that convention have the absolute right to make a request on us, and now it takes our responsibility also to respond to them very quickly. Right now, there is no good structure. There's no connectivity. It's not seamless between the federal and the state. As to when information comes, it will first come to my office. It will first come to the competent authority. And now when it comes, it is our duty to send it to the appropriate EOI officer in the state. So there is need for us to identify in every state the officer that is responsible for exchange of information.
Malam ML Abubakar is the Executive Secretary of the Joint Tax Board.
Exchange of information is looking at obligation on the tax authorities on exchanging information on tax matters, particularly on taxpayers from the contracting state. When I say contracting state, where 2 countries have gone into an agreement, that is, you have signed what we call double taxation, avoidance of double taxation agreement to enable members of the 2 countries enjoying tax relief that are obtainable in the laws of the 2 countries, and that will be in conformity with the agreement that will be signed by the 2 states. So exchange of information is one of such obligations when 2 countries have signed that kind of agreement. It will become binding on the 2 countries, for example, to give information about companies or individuals who have stayed in either of the countries. We have a peculiar situation in Nigeria where we have 37 tax authorities, the Federal Inland Revenue Service, and the 36th Board of Internal Revenue. So it is enough for us to even create a plan. Among ourselves, we should design. We should have an arrangement in place where we'll be exchanging information on tax matters. The participants are drawn from Federal Inland Revenue Service, the State Boards of Internal Revenue, commercial banks, Federal Ministry of Finance, the Nigerian Customs Service, Nigerian Immigration, the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission, and the Central Bank of Nigeria.
We came to a quick realization that the exchange of information matter is a huge new area of taxation. And so we have decided to do an episode in which we will bring in experts to talk to our viewers about the nitty-gritty of the exchange of information and how to be prepared. There's even another big one, the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act, enacted by the United States of America, which affects all those who hold American citizenships, either solely or as dual nationals. So you have to watch out for that. We've spoken to Mr. Tablanche, to Mr. Dike, to Malam Abubakar, and to others, and you can expect that very soon. Before our last story, this quick one. The Federal Inland Revenue Service has just released a notice to the general public on a nationwide VAT and withholding tax verification exercise. The nationwide verification exercise will hold from Wednesday the 12th of March to Friday the 11th of April 2014. Tax auditors from the Federal Inland Revenue Service will visit the premises of companies to verify records of transactions maintained within the last 6 years, that is January 2008 to date. All companies are expected to organize the documents on the screen in readiness for the tax auditors. Watch out for teams of 4 persons armed with FIRS ID cards. You must ensure that they identify themselves. All inquiries on this verification exercise should be directed to the persons on your screen. Welcome once again. The program is still Tax Matters, and it is the season of budgets. Everywhere you turn, it is budget, 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 even at the National Assembly. And the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria is not left out. On Friday, the 14th of February 2014, the CITN hosted a workshop on the 2014 budget of the federal government of Nigeria. There was also a presentation on the recently passed U.S. law, the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act, FATCA. 2 papers were presented, one by Dr. Abiola Sani of the University of Lagos and the other by Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, a tax consultant.
You see that the topic is very narrow. It focuses on a very important area, very important omission in the presentation of this year's budget, and that is the absence of a presidential speech. If you look at the event, there are 3 significant departures from what I call the norms or the convention relating to budget presentation. And these are: 1, the Minister of Finance and not the President laid the budget before the National Assembly. The second is that it was laid separately before the Senate and the House of Representatives rather than the joint sitting of the National Assembly. The third, there was no budget speech which was broadcast live to the nation. My position is that the provisions of the Constitution had not been breached, but nevertheless, failure of a presidential speech this year had taken or had detracted a lot from the meaning, importance, and the significance of 2014 budget. From the budget breakdown by the President, we can see some tax-related incentives. Federal government promised to impose a 70% tariff and 35% levy on the cost of imported vehicles. Then a tax holiday for 5 years, a tax holiday for 5 to 10 years for local manufacturers of tires. So, government is promising to grant 10 years tax holiday for those who are manufacturing tires locally, whereas the Income Tax Relief Act The industrial development income tax reliever allows for a maximum of 5 years. Initial 3 years, extension of 2 years. So for me as a tax lawyer, notwithstanding the good intention of government in this regard, they will need to do what? They will need to amend the provisions of the Act.
What is the role of taxation in budgeting? We've gotten to a point in the life of this nation where we just fold our arms, literally, and we're waiting for the gold, black gold, to come from beneath, translate into some dollars, and we can be free to spend it. People talk about the things they want to do, especially politicians. They don't think about where the money is going to come from. You talk about reducing the tax rate on personal income tax, reducing VAT. Next to that, somebody tells you this is what it means. It's £4 billion. Now, if you create a hole of £4 billion, you better tell me where you're going to get it from. They then tell you again, we have decided that stamp duty on property worth more than £1 million will go up. This will fetch us £2.5 billion. We're still looking for 1.5. You must balance the account even before you start. So we need to start focusing on taxation. If we must promise to spend, let's think about where the money is going to come from.
There was a robust discussion session on the provisions of the draft budget and the postulations of the paper presenters.
I want to add one question in terms of oil and gas free zone or the free zones of this country. I discovered that the free zones are now a conduit pipe for people to import all sorts of things and pass it through the free zones, and whereas they are not qualified to be members of the free zone. But because they are there, they are not manufacturing, they are not importing or exporting, they are just there. They are able to import equipment, import cars, and pass through the free zones and take them to other places and do business to the disadvantage of the nation.
Free zone are being abused. I agree with you. Like any other incentive, people try and beat the system. It's something that happens all over the world, to be honest, because people are naturally selfish, so they think about themselves. It's for government to put institutions in place, measures in place, to be able to, one, prevent it, and where it happens, to identify it and punish it. But if you're not doing that, people get away with it, and they just continue to do it and do more and more of it. So there's this thing about tax justice, and I totally agree with you. We should not just talk about we must pay taxes without asking government, what are you using with our tax money? I'm simply saying that the two should go together. They're not mutually exclusive. You cannot say until government start doing something, that's when you start paying. Government will also tell you, since you haven't paid, we are unable to do anything. So since we can't control exactly what government will do now, let's start by paying first. And then the next step is, since we have now paid, government, how come you haven't done it? And let's make it difficult for them not to do the right thing.
At the end of it all, this promise.
We're taking the outcome of this seminar very seriously. We are going to do a communique which we will send to the leadership of National Assembly as well as to the executive branch of the federal government.
And this one from the chairman of the paper presentation session.
The Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria has only one objective: to professionalize taxation in this country. Because by doing that, the government will be better for it, the taxpayers will be better for it. Who are the people who make up the Chartered Institute of Taxation? You, the members. We need to know our role.
It is hoped that very soon the 2014 budget will be passed for the benefit of all, just as we hope that you will go out there and pay your taxes for the benefit of all. We thank you most sincerely for spending time with us today on Tax Matters. From Christy,
thank you for watching and bye for now.
Have a good week ahead.